Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye Nashtipraeshu Vadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, today we are starting new chapter, chapter 4, the characteristics of Rishabdev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text number 1 onwards. Shri Shukavacha Ataha Tam Utpatyeva Abhivyajyamana Bhagavad Lakshanam Samyo Pasham Vairagyashwarya Maha Vibhuti Anudin Med Mananubhavam Prakriti Prajabrahmana Devtashyavanitil Samavanayati Taram Jagridu. Sri Shukdev Goswami said, as soon as the Lord was born as the son of Maharaj Nabi, he manifested symptoms of the Supreme Lord, such as marks on the bottoms of his feet, the flag, thunderbolt, etc. This son was equal to everyone and very peaceful. He could control his senses and his mind, and possessing all opulence, he did not hanker for material enjoyment. Endowed with all these attributes, the son of Maharaj Navi became more powerful day after day. Due to this, the citizens, learned Brahmins, demigods, and ministers wanted Rishabdev to be appointed ruler of the earth. So he had all these wonderful qualities. So the Brahmins and ministers, everybody wanted him to be the ruler of the earth. In these days of cheap incarnations, it is very interesting to note the bodily symptoms found in an incarnation. From the very beginning of his birth, it was observed that Rishabdev's feet were marked with the transcendental signs, a flag, thunderbolt, lotus flower, etc. In addition to this, as the Lord began to grow, he became more prominent. He was equal to everyone. He did not favor one person and neglect another. An incarnation of God must have the 6 opulences: wealth, strength, knowledge, beauty, fame, and renunciation. It is said that although Rishabdev was endowed with all 6 opulences, he was not at all attached to material enjoyment. He was self-controlled and therefore liked by everyone. Due to his super excellent qualities, everyone wanted him to rule the earth. An incarnation of God has to be accepted by experienced people and by the symptoms described in the Shastras. An incarnation is not accepted simply by the adulation of foolish people. So nobody just becomes an incarnation. It has to be mentioned in the scriptures, and his activities have to be mentioned in the scriptures, and he should have some bodily signs, some marks should be there on his body. So Maharaj Rishabdev was endowed with all the 6 opulences. And even after that, he was fully renounced. It means he was not at all attached to material enjoyment. Tasya hava itam varmana varshmana bariyasa brihatchalokena chaujasa balena shriya yashasa veera shaurya abhyam chapita rishab itidam nama chakara. When the son of Maharaj Navi became visible, he evinced all good qualities described by the great poets, namely a well-built body with all the symptoms of the Godhead: prowess, strength, beauty, name, fame, influence, and enthusiasm. When the father, Maharaj Navi, saw all these qualities, he thought his son to be the best of human beings, or the supreme being. Therefore, he gave him the name Rishabh. To accept someone as God or an incarnation of God, one must observe the symptoms of God in his body. All the symptoms were found in the body of Maharaj Navi's extraordinarily powerful son. His body was well structured and he displayed all the transcendental qualities. He showed great influence and he could control his mind and the senses. Consequently, he was named Rishabh. Rishabh means, which indicates that he was the supreme living being. Also, Rishabh also means the best, like Purusha Rishabh. Krishna's name is, so he's the best among all the Purushas. So just by by chanting any names of the Lord, one gets purified. Knowingly, unknowingly, when we chant, when we say that name, we get purified. So that is why in India, or pretty much all over the world, the tradition was to get their children named after the Lord. Just like among Muslims, Muhammad, keeping the child's name as Muhammad is very, very popular. So the point is, by saying the name of Muhammad again and again, they get purified. So similarly, Rishabh, now this cricketer, Rishabh Pant, is playing for India. So everywhere, everybody is saying his name. So unknowingly, they're chanting the name of the Lord. So they all are getting purified, whether they're commentators or opposite teams or his teammates or the people in general. So they all get purified. Of course, this way it takes very long time. Although they're chanting on a Nam Abhas stage, means no offense they're committing against the name. But still, it's just beneficial. It's just always beneficial. Yasya Hindra Spardhamano Bhagwan Varshe Navavarsha Tadavadharya Bhagwan Rishabhadevo Yogeshwara Prahasyatma Yogamayaya Swavarsham Ajanabham Namabhya Varshat. Indra, the king of heaven, who is very materially opulent, became envious of King Rishabhadev. Consequently, he stopped pouring water on the planet known as Bharatvarsha. At that time, the Supreme Lord Rishabhadev, the master of all mystic power, understood King Indra's purpose and smiled a little. Then, by his own prowess, through Yogmaya, his internal potency, he profusely poured water upon his own place, which was known as Ajanab. So, as we know, that Agnidhra made King Nabhi as the emperor of this Earth planet. No, even before that. Agnidhra was a king of this Earth planet, and he made Nabhi as king of Jambudvip. So Nabhi Maharaj, then looks like he gave the whole kingdom to Rishabhadev. Other sons didn't get the kingdom. So this is also known as Ajanab. He profusely poured water by his own potency. He could do that. We find the word Bhagwan used twice in this verse. Both King Indra and Rishabhadev, the incarnation of the Supreme Lord, are described as Bhagwan. Sometimes Narad and Lord Brahma are also addressed as Bhagwan. The word Bhagwan means that one is very opulent and powerful person like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Narad or Indra. They're all addressed as Bhagwan due to their extraordinary opulence. King Rishabhadev is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord, and therefore he was the original Bhagwan. Consequently, he is described herein as Yogeshwara, which indicates that he has the most powerful spiritual potency. He is not dependent on King Indra for water. He can supply water himself. And he did so in this case. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Yagyat Bhavati Parjanya. Due to the performance of Yagya, clouds of water are manifest in the sky. Clouds and rainfall are under the management of Indra, the heavenly king. But when Indra is neglectful, the Supreme Lord himself, who is also known as Yagya or Yagyapati, takes a task upon himself. Consequently, there was sufficient rainfall in the place named Ajana. When Yagyapati wants to, he can do anything without the help of any subordinate. Therefore, the Supreme Lord is known as Almighty. He has all the powers. He can do anything. In the present age of Kali, there will eventually be a great scarcity of water, anavrishti, for the general populace due to ignorance and the scarcity of yogic ingredients. Will neglect to perform yagyas. Srimad Bhagavatam therefore advises yagya sankirtan praya yajanti hi sumedhasa. After all, yagya is meant to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this age of Kali, there is a great scarcity and ignorance. Nevertheless, everyone can perform Sankirtan Yagya. If every family and every society can conduct Sankirtan Yagya, at least every evening, in this way there will be no disturbance or scarcity of rain. It is essential for the people in this age to perform the Sankirtan Yagya in order to be materially happy and to advance spiritually. So this yagya is powerful. Yagya is supposed to be done. And like Prabhupada said, to be materially happy and to advance spiritually, both things can be attained by doing yagya. So in this day and age, yes, Harinam, yagya sankirtan praya. Yeah, sankirtan yagya is the yagya that is recommended. So all we have to do is sit down and chant. Like Prabhupada says, every family in our society can conduct Sankirtan Yagya at least every evening. So if we can do that every day, of course, we all are chanting our rounds, but if practical, if everybody in the family just sit together, chant for half an hour together, then what about Corona? I mean, no disease can happen. No disease can be at that place where the holy name is being chanted. Nabhistu yathabhilashitam suprajastvam avarudhyati pramod bharvivalo gadgata gadakshriya giraswaram grihita narloka sadharmam bhagvantam purana purusham maya vilasit materavatsa tateti sanuraga Sanuragam uplalyan param nirvritim upgataha. Due to getting a perfect son according to his desire, King Nabhi was always overwhelmed with transcendental bliss and was very affectionate to his son. It was with ecstasy and faltering voice. So faltering voice happens when somebody is in love and he's got so many emotions that are coming out, that he addressed him, my dear son, my darling. This mentality was brought about by Yog Maya, whereby he accepted the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Father, as his own son. Out of his supreme good will, the Lord became his son and dealt with everyone as if he was an ordinary human being. Thus, King Navi began to raise his transcendental son with great affection, and then he was overwhelmed with transcendental bliss, joy, and devotion. So this is the sentiments about having a son is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So just imagine if a father in the material world, any father, how much love they have for their own children, for their own son. And if we multiply that love with millions and trillions of times, so that is a love for the Father of the Supreme Lord towards his son. Because that love is spiritual. It's all governed by Yog Maya. The word Maya is used in this sense of illusion. Considering the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be his own son, Maharaj Nabi was certainly an illusion. but that was transcendental illusion. This illusion is required, otherwise, how can one accept the Supreme Father as his own son? The Supreme Lord appears as a son of one of his devotees, just as Lord Krishna appeared as a son of Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. These devotees could never think of their son as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for such appreciation would hamper the relationship of paternal love. So this is the beauty of the relationship. Normally, everywhere that we go to, Christianity or any other religion, they always say, Lord, my Father, oh Supreme Lord, you're my Father. So Father means we always look towards Him providing for us. But according to Vedic tradition, Vedic knowledge, one can become Father of the Lord. And one can think of, I'm maintaining him, I'm protecting him, I'm taking care of him. I have to do that. And that love, when the devotee becomes a maintainer of the Lord, of course, we can say nobody can maintain the Supreme Lord. What kind of logic is that? Nobody can maintain the Supreme Lord, that's for sure. But the relationship, the bhav, the mood could be of that. One can become father, one can become wife, one can become the girlfriend of the Supreme Lord to give him pleasure. See, other day, Moshami was asked this question, and afterwards I was thinking, actually I didn't respond completely. She said, we are just trying to serve the Lord. What about our mood? Well, obviously, as we said, bhav will come much later. That bhav, the mood, in what mood we have to be in relationship with the Lord. But whatever the mood may be, the prime mood of every devotee in every relationship is to serve the Lord. Service could be in a different way. Yashoda Maya is serving the Lord by taking care of him, by waking him up, by feeding him, by bathing him, by dressing him, by caring for him. Yashoda Maya is serving. The mood is different. Nanda Baba is also serving him, but as a father. Krishna reciprocates with Yashoda, Nanda Baba, and all the unlimited number of devotees and associates in his pastimes. But everybody is trying. Balramji is serving him by taking care of him, by being his protector everywhere. Krishna's friends also serve him by giving him pleasure when they play with him. When they even in the play, they chastise him. Sometimes they tell him, "We're not going to play with you. You cheat all the time." And then you don't fulfill your vows when you're playing, because every time in the play there is something wager is kept, and Krishna always cheats, or most of the time he cheats. But then his friends fight with him, chastise him. He enjoys that. Of course, the friends are not thinking that we're going to give Krishna the pleasure, that's why we have to fight with him. It's just natural flow of emotions. That's all. But Krishna is always in the center. Center means he's always in every single thought and activity of all the devotees of Golok Vrindavan. Srimati Radharani is serving him in so many ways. He cooks for him. He comes every day from either Barsana or from Javat to Nandagaon to cook for Krishna. Every single day. And then they meet different places during the day in the sweet Ashtakaliya Leela. Sometimes he gets angry at Krishna, just like we studied in the pastime with the Virja Gopi. But that anger or her showing man is also a service to Krishna, but that because that increases the pleasure and that increases his hankering to please Srimati Radharani and to pacify her. So the main sentiment is of service, whatever the mood may be. So this is completely different from the religions or the faith people have, because they always think of, oh, the Lord is my provider, He's my maintainer, Lord, give me my daily bread. That's also a good feeling, and there's nothing wrong, but there could be something better than that. It's just like in elementary school in first grade, or in nursery, we study 1 plus 1 is equal to 2, and 2 plus 2 equal to 4. So that is math. But in college or in higher grades, we study calculus and integration and trigonometry and so many different things. That's also maths. But the student of first grade, he cannot understand all these formulas, big formulas and integration and whatever we do in calculus. He might think this is not math. What were you studying in 12th grade or in undergrad or postgrad? It's not math, because he doesn't have any knowledge of that kind of math. But the students of grad or postgrad school, they know whatever the elementary school we learned, that was also math. 1 plus 1 is still equal to 2, even in higher grades. But they have some more things to learn because they have the developed intelligence by then. So those who understand the higher truths about relationship with the Lord, they also appreciate people who say, Lord is my Father, Lord is my maintainer, my provider. That's also a proper relationship. There's nothing wrong with that. But there could be higher truth. So everybody is making progress in their own way. When we preach, obviously, not everybody is going to get convinced, and not everybody is going to take up the process, because people are in different grades. That's all. So those who are ready for higher truth, they'll take up the process. That doesn't mean we don't preach. We have to preach to everybody, but at the same time, understand and appreciate everybody's position, which is fine. So Maharaj Navi and Rishabh Dev, they are having this father-son relationship, and Maharaj Navi has a right sentiments for his own son, who's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 5. Viditanuragam apor prakriti janpado raja nabhiratmajam samay setu rakshayam avishitya brahmaneshu nidhaya sahameru devya vishalayam prasanna nipune tapsa samadhi yogena nara narayanakyam bhagavandam vasudevamam upasina kalintan mahimanam avapa. King Navi understood that his son Rishabdev was very popular among the citizens and among government officers and ministers. Understanding the popularity of his son, Maharaj Navi enthroned him as an emperor of the world to give protection to the general populace in terms of Vedic religious system. To do this, he entrusted him into the hands of learned Brahmins who would guide him in administrating the government. Then Maharaj Navi and his wife Meru Devi went to Badrikashram in the Himalaya mountains, where the king engaged himself very expertly in austerities and penances with great jubilation. In full samadhi, he worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nar Narayan, who is Krishna in his plenary expansion. By doing so, in course of time, Maharaj Navi was elevated to the spiritual world known as Vaikuntha. So this is common theme among all the devotees, among all the kings that we have studied about so far. They just give the kingdom to their grown-up son, the eligible son, and just go for austerities, go to the forest to perform austerities for the self-realization. So this is the proper way of leaving the body. Not that throughout our lives we get entangled in the household affairs. When Maharaj Navi saw that his son Rishabdev was popular with the general populace and the governmental servants, he chose to install him on the imperial throne. In addition, he wanted to entrust his son into the hands of the learned Brahmins. This means that a monarch was supposed to govern strictly according to Vedic principles, under the guidance of learned Brahmins who could advise him according to the standard Vedic literatures like Manusmriti and similar Shastras. It is the duty of the king to rule the citizens according to Vedic principles. According to Vedic principles, society is divided into 4 categories: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Chaturvarnyamaya Srishtam. After dividing the society in this way, it's the king's duty to see that everyone executes Vedic principles according to his caste. A Brahman must perform the duty of a Brahman without cheating the public. It is not that one attains the name of a Brahman without the qualifications. It is a king's duty to see that everyone engages in his occupational duty, Varnashram, according to Vedic principles. This is the duty of the real king. In addition, retirement at the end of life is compulsory. Maharaj Navi, although he is still a king, retired from family life and went with his wife to a place called Badrikashram in the Himalayas, where the deity Nar Narayan is worshipped. The words prasanna nipunena tapasa indicate that king accepted all kinds of austerity very expertly and jubilantly. He did not at all mind leaving the comfortable life at home, although he was the emperor. Despite undergoing severe austerities and penances, he felt very pleased at Badrikashram, and he did everything there expertly. In this way, being fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, Samadhi Yoga, always thinking of Krishna, Vasudeva, Maharaj Navi attained success at the end of his life and was promoted to the spiritual world, Vaikuntha Loka. So this is the proper life. In the beginning, they performed austerities and the yagya to have a son, Supreme Lord as their son, and then raised up the child properly, but they were attached to Rishabdev. And when he was grown up, gave him the kingdom, went to the Badrikashram to perform more austerities, and just go back to Vaikuntha Loka. Simple as that. So come to think of Badrikashram, of course, we also had wonderful trip to Badrikashram and Kedarnath. But when Krishna was there performing his pastimes in Braj, so one day he saw Nanda Baba going early in the morning. He was going to leave, and he saw a day before he saw Yashoda Maya cooking, making so many preparations, and he went to Yashoda Maya, Maya, what are you doing? What are you making? Who are we making all these things for? She was making matri and puri and sabji and this, that, so many things. Maya said, Lala, I'm very busy right now. Go to your Baba, ask him. I'm busy making so many things. So Lala went to Baba. Baba, what is this Maya doing? Why she's making so many things? Baba said, oh, actually tomorrow I'm going to go for pilgrimage with other Gopas. So she's making preparations for us to take during the yatra. Baba, where are you going? Where are we going? Baba said, well, Lala, why are you going? He said, and how long it's going to take? It's going to take very long. Baba said, Lala, actually, we were getting old and we didn't have you as our son. So we asked for you, and then we had made a promise that if you appear, then we'll come to go to different places of pilgrimage to thank, to be grateful. But Baba, it will take long time for you to come back. Yes, Lala, it will take very long time. But I'll be back. But no, Baba, I'll miss you. Where are you going to go, Baba? So Baba said, I'll go to Badrika Ashram, I go to Kedarnath, I'll go to Haridwar. So many places he told. But Baba, all these places are in Braj. Lala, what are you talking about? They're far, so far away. No, Baba, all these places are in Braj. Me and my friends, we go and play over there. So actually what had happened when Krishna heard that Nanda Baba had to go to all these places, with his desire only, he called all these places in the Braj. So actually there are these places in near Govardhan, although so far we haven't had a chance to go to these places. Badrika Ashram is there, Kedarnath is there, Argipodi is there, Manasi Ganga we have already seen. So, and according to scriptures, the real places are here in Braj because they all wanted to be in Braj. So the places Badrinath and Kedarnath that we went to, according to the scriptures, they are just a replica. The real ones are here. So maybe next time we go to Braj, we can visit these places. So, okay, coming back to the purport. This is the way of Vedic life. One must stop the process of repeated birth and death and return home back to Godhead. The words Tan, Mahima, Anam, Avapa are significant in this regard. Srila Sridhar Swami says that Mahima means liberation in this life. We should act in such a way in this life that after giving up this body, we'll become liberated from the bondage of repeated birth and death. This is called Jivan Mukti. Srila Veda Raghavacharya states that in the Chandogya Upanishad, there are 8 symptoms of a Jivan Mukta, a person who's already liberated even when living in this body. So Jivan Mukta or Jivan Mukti or liberation, because King Nabhi attained liberation, or not just liberation, he went back to the Vaikuntha planets. So the first symptom of one so liberated is that he's freed from all sinful activity. Apahat Papa. So no more sinful activity for a liberated person. So just because we are chanting, we engage in chanting the holy names. Of course, our chanting is not that proper right now anyway. So we become liberated. One who is chanting the holy names, he is liberated. That's the first symptom. But according to Viragavacharya means, the liberated person means he should be freed from all sinful activity. Not even thought of sinful activity. As long as one is under the clutches of Maya in the material energy, one has to engage in sinful activity. Bhagavad Gita describes such people as Dushkritina, which indicates that they're always engaged in sinful activity. One who is liberated in this life does not commit any sinful activities. Sinful activities involve illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. Another symptom of a liberated person is vigor, which indicates that is not subjected to the miseries of old age. Old age will be there, the miseries won't be. Another symptom is vimrityu. A liberated person prepares himself in such a way that he does not take on any material bodies which are destined to die. So no more material body, vimrityu. In other words, he does not fall down again to repeat birth and death. Another symptom is vishoka, which indicates that he's callous to material distresses and happiness. Means he's completely immune to either distress or happiness. He's just equally minded. Another is Vijighatsa, which indicates that he no longer desires material enjoyment. Another symptom is Apipata, which means that he has no desire other than to engage in the devotion service of Krishna, his dearmost, persuadable Lord. A further symptom is Satyakam, which indicates that all his desires are directed to the supreme truth, Krishna. He does not want anything else. He is Satya Sankalp. Whatever he desires is fulfilled by the grace of Krishna. First of all, he does not desire anything for his material benefit. And secondly, if he desires anything at all, he simply desires to serve the Supreme Lord. That desire is fulfilled by the Lord's grace. That is called Satya Sankalpa. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that the word Mahima means returning to the to the spiritual world, back to Vaikuntha Loka. Sri Shukdev Goswami says that the word Mahima means that the devotee attains the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is called Sadharma, or the same quality. Just as Krishna is never born and never dies, his devotee who returns to Godhead never die and never take birth within the material world. So that is a real liberation. So going back home, back to Godhead and never take birth. In fact, this was one of the points of spiritual tourism that we were discussing today in the other meeting. I said spiritual tourism, Krishna gives the best tourism package to his followers. One-way ticket to Golok Vrindavan, to the spiritual world. One-way ticket. And what's the price you have to pay? Chant the holy names, do the bhakti. And the visa you get by Manmanabha Madbhakto Madhyam Yadi Mam Namaskuru. That's our visa. And the ticket for the price we pay is by chanting, by doing devotion service. And he gives one-way ticket, means no more coming back to this material world. That's the best package anybody can give. Yasya Pandaveya Shloka Udaharanti Ko nu tat karma rajar sheranab renva charet uman apatyatam Madgadyasya Harishuddhena Karmana. O Maharaj Parikshit, to glorify Maharaj Navi, the old sages composed two verses. One of them is this: who can attain the perfection of Maharaj Navi? Who can attain his activities? Because of his devotional service, the Supreme Personality of Godhead agreed to become his son. The words Shuddhena Karmana are significant in this verse. If work is not carried out in devotional service, it is contaminated by the modes of material nature. That is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Activities performed only for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord are pure and are not contaminated by the modes of material nature. All other activities are contaminated by the modes of ignorance and passion, as well as goodness. All material activities meant for satisfying the senses are contaminated And Maharaj Navi did not perform anything contaminated. He simply executed his transcendental activities even when performing yajna. Consequently, he obtained the Supreme Lord as his son. So to attain to have the Supreme Lord as one's son, how pure that person must be, how pure his activities, how pure his thoughts must be. And the Supreme Lord is Param Pavitra. Arjun tells Krishna, you are Param Pavitra, Param Dhama, supremely pure. So the Supreme Lord cannot just come to anybody's house as a child or even as a deity. He just cannot come to anybody's house, even as a deity. Your deity is not different from him. So if the person is not qualified, of course, as a deity he comes seeing the qualification, but then gradually he makes the householder more qualified, more purified. But even to come to somebody's house, it's just doesn't happen just like that. So consequently, that's what Shloka says. He obtained the Supreme Lord as a son. Brahmanyo anyah kuto na bhairvipra mangala pujitah yasya barhishi yagesham darshayama asuro jasaha. The second prayer is this: who is better worshipper of Brahmins than Maharaj Nabi? Because he worshipped the qualified Brahmins to their full satisfaction. The Brahmins, by their Brahminical prowess, showed Maharaj Nabi the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan in person. The Brahmins engaged as priests in the sacrificial ceremony were not ordinary Brahmins. They were so powerful that they could bring forth the Supreme Personality of Godhead by their prayers. Thus, Maharaj Navi was able to see the Lord face to face. Unless one is a Vaishnava, he cannot call forth the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord does not accept an invitation unless one is a Vaishnava. Vaishnava means a devotee. So those Brahmins, how powerful they must be that by their prayers, the Supreme Lord appears to agreed to appear. Therefore, it is said in Padma Puran, a scholarly Brahmin expert in all subjects of Vedic knowledge is unfit to become a spiritual master without being a Vaishnava. But a person born in the family of a lower caste can become a spiritual master if he is a Vaishnava. These Brahmins were certainly very expert in chanting the Vedic mantras. They were competent in the performance of the Vedic rituals, and over and above this, they were Vaishnavas. Therefore, by their spiritual powers, they could call on the Supreme Personality of Godhead and enable their disciple Maharaj Navi to see the Lord face to face. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that the word Ojasa means by dint of devotional service. So they were so powerful because of their devotional service, and by their prayers, the Supreme Lord appeared to give darshan to Maharaj Nabi, and then agreed to become his son. So these two verses were there to glorify Maharaj Nabi. Atha Bhagwan Rishabhadeva Swavarsham Karam Kshetram Anumanyamanaha Pradarshit Gurukulavasu Labdhavara Guru Abhiranu Grihimedinam Dharmananu Shikshamano Jayante Jayantyamindriya Dattayam Ubhay Lakshanam Skarma Samamnayam Natam Abhiyunjanatmajana Matma Samananam Shatam Janya Masa. After Navi Maharaj departed for Badrikashram, the Supreme Lord Rishabdev understood that his kingdom was his field of activities. He therefore showed himself as an example and taught the duties of a householder by first accepting brahmacharya under the direction of spiritual masters. He also went to live at the spiritual master's place, Gurukul. After his education was finished, he gave gifts, Guru Dakshina, to his spiritual masters, and then accepted the life of a householder. He took a wife named Jayanti and begot 100 sons who were as powerful and qualified as he himself. His wife Jayanti had been offered to him by Indra, the king of heaven. Rishabdev and Jayanti performed householder life in an exemplary way, carrying out ritualistic activities ordained by the Shruti and Smriti Shastra. So same Indra, he didn't give rain because he was envious of Rishabdev, but after he understood, he learned his lesson, who Rishabdev is, then he made the arrangement for him to marry Jayanti. Being an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Rishabdev had nothing to do with material affairs. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya sadhanam vinashaya cha dushkrita. The purpose of an incarnation is to liberate his devotees and to stop the demoniac activities of non-devotees. These are the two functions of the Supreme Lord when he incarnates. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said that in order to preach, one must live a practical life and show people how to do things. Apni achari bhakti sikhai musavare. One cannot teach others unless he behaves the same way himself. Rishabdev was an ideal king and it took his education in Gurukul, although he was already educated because the Supreme Lord is omniscient. Although Rishabdev had nothing to learn from Gurukul, he went there just to teach the people in general how to take an education from the right source, from Vedic teachers. He then entered householder life and lived according to the principles of Vedic knowledge, Shruti and Smriti. In Bhakti Ratsamrit Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami, quoting Skanda Puran, states, human society must follow the instructions received from Shruti and Smriti, Vedic literature. Practically applied in life, this is worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to the Pancharatrik Vidhi. Every human being must advance in spiritual life. At the end, return home back to Godhead. Maharaj Rishabdev strictly followed all these principles. He remained an ideal grihastha and taught his sons how to become perfect in spiritual life. These are some examples of how he ruled the earth and completed his mission as an incarnation. So Rishabdev, he was a brahmachari, he went to Gurukul, he learned everything from his teachers, then he became a grihastha, married Jayanti, and he had 100 sons who were as powerful and qualified as he himself. So he led an exemplary life for everybody else to follow. Yesham khalu mahayogi bharato jeshta shreshta gun asidde yenedam varsham bharatam iti vyapdishanti. Of Rishabdev's 100 sons, the eldest, named Bharat, was a great exalted devotee qualified with the best attributes. In his honor, this planet has become known as Bharatvarsha. This planet known as Bharatvarsha is also called Punya Bhumi, the pious land. At the present moment, Bharat Bhumi or Bharatvarsha is a small piece of land extending from Himalaya mountains to Cape Comorin. Sometimes this peninsula is called Punya Bhumi. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given special importance to the people of this land. One who has taken his birth as a human being in the land of India, Bharatvarsha, should make his life successful and work for the benefit of all other people. The inhabitants of this piece of land are very fortunate. They can purify their existence by accepting this Krishna consciousness movement and go outside Bharat Bhumi and preach this cult to benefit the entire world. So sometimes people ask, what's there in India? There's so much of corruption and pollution and population and this or that. But it is still Punya Bhumi. It's It's a land of dharma and very, very pious. And here in Bhagavatam, it is said it's not any politician who made it or whatever. In his honor, this planet has become known as Bharatvarsha. Many times people argue that it was Lord Ram's brother Bharat. Because of him, this planet is known as Bharatvarsha. But that's not what Srimad Bhagavatam says. It's because of this Bharat, son of King Rishabdev. Because of him, this planet, in his honor, the planet is known as Bharatvarsha. So how great that king must be, King Bharat. That the whole planet, it used to be Ilavrit Varsha earlier, but after Maharaja Bharat, the whole planet was named after him. Tamnu Kushavarta Ilavartu Brahmavartu Malaya Ketur Bhadrasen Indra Sprigu Vidarbha Kikat Iti Nav Navati Pradhana. Following Bharat, there were 99 other sons. Among these were 9 elderly sons named Kushavrit, Ilavrit, Brahmavrit, Malay, Ketu, Bhadrasena, Indrasprik, Vidarbha, and Kikat. Kavir Havirantariksha Prabuddha Pipalayana Aver Hotro At Drumillash Chamasah Karbhajana Iti Bhagavad Dharma Darshana Nava Mahabhagavata Stesha Sucharitam Bhagwan Mahimo Apabramhitam Vasudeva Narada Samvadam Upshamayanam Parishtad Varnayishyamaham. In addition to these sons were Kavi, Havi, Antariksh, Prabuddha, Pipalayan, Averhotra, Drumil, Chamas, and Karbhajan. These are all very exalted, advanced devotees and authorized preachers of Srimad Bhagavatam. These devotees were glorified due to their strong devotion to Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, they were very exalted to satisfy the mind perfectly. I, Shukdev Goswami is saying, I shall hereafter describe the characteristics of these 9 devotees when I discuss the conversation between Narad and Vasudeva. So this happens in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. See, it's all the story of one family only. So all these 9 rishis or Nav-Yogendras, they're called Nav-Yogendras. So they all appear in the 11th canto. They all come to Dwarka and met Vasudeva. And Vasudevji asked him the Bhagavad Dharma. And they taught him the Bhagavad Dharma. Although they were reluctant that you're father of Krishna, you know everything. But Vasudevji, because of his humility, he again asked him. And then they gave him Bhagavad Dharma, the beautiful message. It's all in the 11th canto. Yaviyans ekashitir jayante pituradesh kara mahashalina mahashrotriya yagyashila karma vishuddha brahmana babuvu. In addition to these 19 sons mentioned above, there were 81 younger ones, all born of Rishabdev and Jayanti. According to the order of their father, they became well-cultured, well-behaved, very pure in their activities, and expert in Vedic knowledge and the performance of Vedic rituals. Thus, they all became perfectly qualified Brahmins. Although they were sons of Kshatriya, but they became perfectly qualified Brahmins. From the verse, we have good information of how the castes are qualified according to the quality and work. Rishabdeva king was certainly a Kshatriya. He had 100 sons, and out of these, 10 were engaged as Kshatriya and ruled the planet. 9 sons became good preachers of Srimad Bhagavatam, so they were Mahabhagavats. And this indicates that they were above the position of Brahmins. The other 81 sons became highly qualified Brahmins. These are some practical examples of how one can become fit for a certain type of activity by qualification, not by birth. All the sons of Maharaj Rishabdev were Kshatriyas by birth, but by quality, some of them became Kshatriyas and some became Brahmins. 9 became preachers, and which means that they were above the categories of Kshatriya and Brahman. So, not the birth that guides everything. It's the qualities one develops and the kind of work one does. So anyway, we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments? I know it's wonderful story going on. We don't want to stop, but what to do?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Manta.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I would like to know about Brahman, as you mentioned, Brahman, Vaishnava, and Sannyasi. What is the difference between all these three, and what are their duties according to the Shastra?
Well, actually, this will come in detail in the 7th canto. But just to give some answer. So Brahman means Brahman Janati iti Brahman. Means he knows the supreme truth. But a Vaishnava goes further than just knowing. He serves the supreme truth. Serves with love and devotion. That's a Vaishnava. And a sannyasi is an ashram, and he sannyasi means he goes out and just renounces everything, nothing to do with the household affairs anymore, and is basically engaged in self-realization.
Okay, so as you mentioned about Brahman, meaning of Brahman, that one who knows Brahman. So when we talk about Brahman, what is it, like Krishna consciousness or something different?
Well, we only know of Krishna consciousness, but even Mayavadis, they could be Brahmins. They know the scriptures. So Brahmins have 6 activities to do. Patan, Patan, Yajan, Yajan, Dana, Pratigraha. Means Patan, they study the scriptures and they teach the scriptures. Yajan, they do the sacrifice and teach how to do the sacrifice. And Dan, Pratigraha, they give donation, Dan. And the Pratigraha, they accept charity. They don't do jobs, just like we do.
Yeah.
So that's a Brahman. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, so above all, like one endeavor to become a more Vaishnava, that should be the goal.
Yeah, Vaishnava is definitely above a Brahman. There was once there was a debate on this topic, Brahman and Vaishnavas, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur was supposed to go and speak on behalf of Vaishnavas. But he got sick. So he asked his son, who later became Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. So his son was Bimla Prasad at that time. He asked his son, because he was scholar, to go and speak. So when he went there, he noticed there's so many Brahmins, so many caste Brahmins, Smarta Brahmins they're called. And he started his lecture. He was glorifying Brahmins. He just quoted scriptures after scriptures, glorifying Brahmins. And all the Brahmins, they were very, very happy. They were thinking, he is speaking on our behalf for our benefit. and they were very happy. But then first of all, then he showed how not just by birth one becomes a Brahmin, and then he glorified the Vaishnavas. Anybody can become a Vaishnava. He could be Shudra, but he could be Vaishnava. He could be Vaishya, he could be Kshatriya, he could be Brahman, but he can become Vaishnava. And once he becomes a Vaishnava, he is above Brahmans, according to scriptures. So then all the Brahmins, they got upset with it. Then further pastime happened. But that's a Vaishnava. And anybody, not just Shudra, anybody lower than Shudra can also become a Vaishnava. Means he can continue doing whatever job or profession he has, as long as, it doesn't break the rules. He can continue with his job, but he can be a Vaishnava. He can be serving the Supreme Lord.
Yes.
So being a Vaishnava is very, very high position. Of course, we all say we are Vaishnavas because by mercy of Prabhupada, we are Gaudiya Vaishnavas, but we don't have those qualities that Prabhupada keep on mentioning in his books about Vaishnavas. So we have to develop those qualities properly.
Yes. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
I have one more question, but this is not related to today's topic. Can I ask?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, sir.
Prabhuji, in this chapter that we are reading, you just mentioned that Brahma, Indra, and all other people are called Bhagavan.
Bhagavan. Mm-hmm.
But as we understand from the scriptures and before you have been telling us and that Bhagavan is only person who has all the 6 opulences in infinite ratio. So how is it? How is it that they are also called Bhagavan?
They are called Bhagavan. Prabhupada mentioned earlier also. But first of all, they are completely representing the Supreme Lord. They are doing his work, and they have to a very high degree the qualities that Krishna has. So that's why sometimes they're also called Bhagavan. Of course, they are not Param Bhagavan like Krishna, but Bhagavan in the sense they have the qualities of that level. So even Narad Muni is called. Narad Muni has a full quality of renunciation. So similarly, others like Brahmaji, Shivji, and sometimes Indra is also called. But they're not the Supreme Bhagavan, Krishna. That's only Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Okay, Prabhuji. Okay, I guess we can stop here. You're safe and wonderful. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.